All right. I hope that this is working out. If you are able to tune in with us, please just leave a little comment in the comment box to make sure that we are doing this right. We're using a new platform, so we're very excited. I'm going to give it just a minute so people have a chance to log on. And again, as you're joining, just give us a little wave in the comment box. Let us know you're here. We're so excited. Hi, Lori. Got some people jumping on. So we're really, I'm very excited about this. Hi, Paul, about this month and what we're here to do. So as you may or may not know, this is Mental Health Month. And hi, Tim, and hi, LaQuea. This is Mental Health Month, and May is a month where, as a nation, we try to pay special attention to our mental health. And those of you who have been impacted by transplantation in one way or another know better than anybody how important it is to take care of your mental health through processes. So whether that be a recipient or a donor family or as a caretaker, and just navigating some of the things, like paperwork or opportunities that are available, just navigating some of that can be extremely daunting. So we're trying to diversify some of the services that we offer as an organization. And this is one of the ways that we're doing it. We want to help support our donor families tonight and offer some tips and tricks of the trade to help protect your mental health during your grieving process. So tonight we have the wonderful Donna Trabue, who works at Volunteers of America Mid-States, who is one of our amazing partners. She is going to be touching upon some of the wonderful ways that you can take care of your mental health during your grief process. So without further ado, Donna.
Hi, everyone, and I appreciate so much, Stephanie, the invitation to come. And let me start out by saying I'm no expert on grieving or mental health or good self-care. We're all learners in this process, and but I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. I really appreciate our partnership with CODA. We are a faith-based human services organization that just a few years ago thought that our mission aligned so well with the CODA mission, and so we actually have engaged in promotion of organ donation. I've been a believer for a long time. I was trying to remember how long ago I signed my driver's license to do it, and it's been decades for sure. And so really appreciate that partnership. And even this week, unfortunately, we've had a former client, a graduate of our program, has passed away, and so organ donation is happening this week. And we all say we would step forward to save a life if we could, and that's very important. And this gives us an actual opportunity to do that, to be willing to share our organs. So I really appreciate that partnership. Our mission is about creating positive change, and CODA certainly is involved with that. So I just wanted to share a few thoughts and some tips tonight this evening about grieving and about your mental health while you're grieving. And some of these come from my own experience of losing my father about 14 years ago to pancreatic cancer, and some just from my experience as a chaplain here at Volunteers of America and as a minister as well. So I want to share first a couple of sayings about grief. One of the things that Arthur Schopenhauer said is that death is a loss which teaches us about the worth of things, and I think I agree with that. Death ends a life, not a relationship. And I want to offer my condolences, of course, to all of you who are in the process of grieving, and to let you know that I'm thinking of you and holding prayer for you in my faith tradition. And in my faith tradition, I believe that nothing separates us from the love of God, not death, not even death. And I want to share a poem by Maya Angelou that says, it's called When I Think of Death. And it says, when I think of death, and of late the idea has come with alarming frequency, I seem at peace with the idea that a day will dawn when I will no longer be among those living in this valley of strange humors. I can accept the idea of my own demise, but I'm unable to accept the death of anyone else. I find it impossible to let a friend or relative go into that country of no return. Disbelief becomes my close companion, and anger follows in its wake. I answer the heroic question, Death, where is thy sting? With it is here in my heart and mind and memories. So we're going to talk a little bit about the sting of grieving tonight, and share some thoughts and ideas on this Thoughtful Thursday. So one of the things I really want to promote is that you pay attention when you're grieving, that you tune into and actually name the feelings that come when you are experiencing the passing of a loved one. And it doesn't have to be the prescribed feeling that we always associate with grieving, which is, of course, sadness and deep sorrow. But there are other feelings too, and it's good to really take the time to self-reflect and to tune into those. You might be experiencing exhaustion. You might be experiencing regret, anger, a mixture of emotions. There can even be some relief. In some instances, the death has been a long time coming, and it's been sometimes a back and forth process with 3 steps towards the end of the life and 2 steps back. And it is exhausting to be on that back and forth treadmill. You may be thinking about unfinished business or the loss of future celebrations. What does the passing mean? You may be thinking about the changes in roles that happen when someone exits in a death. You may be thinking about traditions, rituals. How are we going to do things going forward when my father's always the one to get new tires on my car? How's that going to work going forward? It's really important, I think, to identify what you're feeling and to not judge what you're feeling, but just to let the feeling be what it is. Name what it is, recognize what it is, and don't feel like, oh, I should be only feeling such and such. It's okay to have that range of emotions and to be honest and authentic about that. The goal while you're grieving is to seek and find comfort, whatever that means for you. I think it's a good time to let go of things that don't bring comfort, and especially things that bring discomfort. This is a particular time in your life when you're in those throes of grief, especially early on, but even it can go on for a long time, where you need to tend to yourself and you need to give yourself the permission to let people tend to you. And your goal is to seek comfort and to make peace with yourself. And you can be active about that and very intentional. And I recommend that people think about, when I'm needing comfort, who should I be around? Who maybe should I increase my interactions with? Are there people that I should decrease interactions with because I'm not getting the comfort that I need? And it may not be that they're not offering comfort. It just may not be what you need at that time. I'll be honest with you enough to share that years ago, in my own discomfort with death, I offered sometimes very buttoned up, easy answers. Like a good friend of mine, her mother had previously passed, and when her father passed, I just kept saying, they're together now. It's good. They're at peace. They're with one another. And I don't disagree with that now, but at the time, I don't think that was the most helpful thing to her. I needed to acknowledge her sadness and try, instead of feeling to the pressure to rush to button it up for her and smooth out the edges and ignore her raggedness in the midst of her grief. It would have been a much more authentic conversation for me to say, tell me how you're feeling, or what would you like me to know, instead of, they're together now. Your parents are together. You know, this is what was going to happen. Excuse me. So making some intentional decisions around, who can I be around? Who is bringing comfort to me now? And how can I seek out more interaction with them? Or do I just need to be by myself more and say no to some invitations to be with others. How can you take a sabbatical or a pause or a break in some things? Are there some things that are sucking up energy that you just don't have time to do at this point in your life? Now, it's good to make decisions about when is routine helpful and ritual and traditions, and when is it good to put that on ice for a while and to pause and to give yourself the freedom and the space to really actively grieve. I think when a lot of times, I think grieving is a lot like, almost like a pregnancy, only maybe the opposite of that. You know, with a pregnancy, maybe you find out that you're 6 weeks or 8 weeks in, or a little more, and you find out that you're expecting, and then you have more time to adjust to that new life coming on. But sometimes when people are passing, we get no notice, and it's like ice water, and it's immediate, and we don't have time to prepare and to think through and to mentally engage with the idea that someone is leaving us physically. But there's I think the amount of work that goes into a pregnancy and all that work that's going on inside that doesn't show on the outside, or at least not for a while, is also happening when someone grieves. It's a lot of internal work. So if you need to alleviate some of the external pressures or the stresses and do that internal work, then think about that and think about what you can either let go permanently or put on pause, take a break. People will be understanding, and it's okay to do those things. If there are practices that you're doing that keep you grounded and you are getting comfort from those routines, then certainly stick with those. I think it's wise to be aware of the way that the physiological impact of grieving can manifest itself. Sometimes that can come out looking like sleeplessness or waking in the night or obsessive thinking, headaches, body aches. It can show itself as depression or anxiety, restlessness, tension. Death is a trauma, and your body can carry the effects of the exposure to that trauma, and some of that can linger on. And it's important if it's getting to a point that your natural helping network, your friend group, your family, your colleagues, that their support is not enough. Why wouldn't we need to go to a therapist or to see a grief counselor? That would just be a good assumption that might be needed at that point in time. And those are absolutely what those professionals are there for. So be attuned to whether you need that additional support, or going to grief groups. I know do wonderful work with grief work, and take advantage of those. You may not need those forever, but maybe you need those right now. I think it's a good idea to, as you're thinking about comfort, find those opportunities that you can weave into your normal day. Not long after my father died, I had to drive to Knoxville for work, and there was a song that I really, really liked. The words of it were something like, "All of heaven is watching tonight to see the beauty of a saint drawing closer tonight." And that song, with the image of just spirits in heaven, God, whatever is there, excitedly embracing my father's spirit as he transitioned over. That image brought a lot of comfort to me. And I ended up driving to Knoxville and back, listening to that song on repeat almost the whole time. And that may sound crazy to some people. Like, why would you listen to that song so much? But I had a sore soul, and that was like balm. That was like salve. That was like the medicine that I needed, was to hear those words over and over, and to carry that image of my father's welcome into the afterlife. And it brought me a lot of comfort. I think if you find yourself having the need to speak to your loved one or to write to your loved one, do it. Sit down and write letters, write notes, put them in a box somewhere if you want to, and hold on to them. Mail them to a friend or a family member if you need to. Talk out loud to your loved one that you're missing if you need to. If any of that brings solace, just do that. And then think of different opportunities, maybe in music or journaling. For some people, it would be sports. That's not me. But physical exercise, art. Look for opportunities to do creative expression about your feelings. For my father, he was a tap dancer, not professionally, but just that he enjoyed doing it so much, and actually did performances at various places. And so when I was a child, we tap danced in our carport together. I had my own little pair of tap shoes when I was about 8 or 9 years old. And those are wonderful memories that I carry. And so one of the things that I did to help bring solace for myself is, after he passed away, I signed up for a dancing class. Not that I was ever going to become a good dancer, but I just was able to sort of relive those memories by doing that physical activity. And it made me feel close to him in a way, which is what I really needed to do, was to feel engaged with his spirit. I encourage you to walk through grief. Don't kick it to the curb, because it will pop back up. I think of grief as like a long hallway that you have to walk through. And people try to shut it down, but I think it pops back up if you don't walk the long hallway. And I think it's okay to take breaks along that long hallway, to use distractions when the pain is so fierce and cutting so sharply. It's okay to immerse yourself in books or movies or something else that gives you some momentary relief from the reality that you're dealing with. But I think eventually, to get through grief in a healthy way, you do have to walk down that long hallway. At least that's my opinion. It's okay to feel deeply, but also to indulge in some distraction. Read a good book, play a game with your family. It's okay to get your mind off of the passing temporarily. Be aware that you may have triggers, meaning triggers for sorrow, things that you may see or hear or smell or touch or taste that brings you to tears, and that's okay. Your loved one is worth the tears. For me, if I see a middle-aged man wearing a UK hat, it can still occasionally make me, even after 14 years, to well up a little bit inside and to get that lump in the throat. Just be forewarned that those things may happen. If you had a complicated relationship with the loved ones, it's okay to just feel what you feel, or don't feel what you don't feel. Do what puts yourself at ease. For family traditions or holidays, plan ahead and talk with anybody that you need to about how are we going to observe Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, the holidays. It really worked for us on the first Thanksgiving after my father passed, to light a candle and place it at his seat. And then after that first year, we didn't feel the need to do that anymore. But at that point in time, it felt like we needed to acknowledge his absence and remember his presence. Do what feels right for you, and exercise your choice to participate or not participate in anything that doesn't comfort you. People are wanting to alleviate your pain, so give them things to do if you are comfortable with it. Let them bring you the casseroles and the bereavement meals, and say no if you don't want those things. It doesn't have to become a burden to manage 20 casseroles if you don't want to. If it's better for you to go out for a run or a walk, then do that and say thank you, but that's not necessary. If there are things that, as I said earlier, that make you feel close to your beloved, engaged in those. I talked about the dance class, and I took up drinking coffee again because I drank coffee with my father when I was a child. And so while I'd not done it for years, I took it up again 14 years ago, and I'm still a coffee drinker. That makes me feel close to him because we shared those cups of coffee together years ago. And then find your niche in grief expression and be patient with yourself and your enduring fatigue. There's a woman named Anne Lamott who says, as often as possible, live in the present, but keep your connection to the past and find ways to incorporate your beloved spirit into the future. Think about small self-care practices like deep breathing, even laughter, singing, whatever nurtures you. Remember that death is not stronger than love, and love remains forever and always. And I was so thrilled when well, before I say that, let me share a few things about helping children grieve. The most important thing is probably to take care of yourself and to be honest with your child and to give your child room to talk and where you listen to them carefully. They may have questions about heaven or the afterlife, and you may say, well, I believe such and such. Or you may say, I don't know, I've never been to the afterlife, and that's an honest answer. Acknowledge your child's grief, but don't impose your grief on your child. Let them grieve in their own way. Give your child creative outlets, just like we talked about for you, to express their feelings. Keep some rules and boundaries consistent. The guardrails are good to know about. Children, they feel a sense of stability and security when some things continue on as far as rules. And reassure your child that they're loved and that you are there for him or her. Their sense of safety can be shaken, and they just need to be reminded. Create rituals and new family traditions and be patient with your child. There may be a little more acting up. These are some very intense feelings that they're experiencing. And then I was so thrilled that Stephanie and Coda reached out to you all to get some good tips on grieving, because always the best that we can learn from each other is to have the shared wisdom of the group. So here were some things that you all shared, those of you who participated in the survey. So in response to the question, share one significant thing that has been helpful to you throughout your grief journey. Here were some of the responses. Prayer, keeping busy, knowing that there is no time frame, having someone that has gone through the same journey as I have to talk with, my memories and my family and friends' memories of my son, which they shared with me. Some are hilarious, some are heartwarming, but all are treasures in my mind and heart. Doing for others, seeing firsthand that others have experienced worse tragedies with less support than your own tragedy, learning that you are not alone in this nightmarish journey. I was blessed to be in a support group of other widows. The quick answer is Jesus, but specifically, I printed out encouraging and comforting scripture verses in large print and put them in all the rooms of my house. I couldn't go anywhere where I wasn't reminded that I was not alone, that I was loved, and that I could lean on Jesus. He is still the rock that I stand on. And that could be expanded to be anything that's comforting to you. That could be poetry, talking and crying openly about the loss of my mom. I find that reading books about the afterlife and what that may look like helps me to feel connected to my loved ones still. They're still out there. We are just unable to see them. I loved this one. For the first couple of years after my son passed, I would throw a party on his birthday and the anniversary of his accident. I invited, all of his friends and family, and we all reminisced about the time we shared. It made those days bearable. The CODA aftercare program and meeting other parents who had child grief. Standing firm in my spiritual belief system. Keeping my loved one. Relevant memories. Second, the second question in the survey was, what insight would you share with your earlier self and others to offer encouragement following the death of a loved one? And here were the responses. Keep the same routine no matter how hard. Include their favorite foods, colors in everyday life. Keep their favorite foods and colors in everyday life. Life continues while we grieve. Stay in touch with CODA. They have wonderful resources and events to keep your loved one's memory alive. Take your time. Listen to that again. Take your time with your own journey. Surround yourself with family and friends. If you participate in a church, continue to go. You may be numb at the beginning, but eventually you will find your way. Be with others who walk this difficult path. Support groups and grief counseling. Be kind to yourself. Get enough sleep. It will get better, although it will never be the same. You will take baby steps toward accepting life-altering change, and eventually embracing the new life afforded you. Be true to your emotions, including crying, sharing your journey with others, and remembering all of the wonderful times. Don't forget to laugh too, as it is so good for the soul during your journey. Be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to heal. It does take time, but it also takes effort. Remember joy. Aim to find some every day and look for it. Give yourself grace to grieve. Allow yourself to cry in front of others. You don't have to be strong every single second of the day. Don't get stuck in the what if stage. It's okay to laugh, smile, and feel happy after a loved one has died. You don't have to feel like you need to be sad all the time. You aren't forgetting them or discrediting them in any way. You are just allowing yourself to be happy within the grieving process. This is a good one. When you know a day is going to be rough, take the day off. Spend it however you want, crying, sleeping, reading, whatever. I know it's okay to cry and grieve as much as you need. I meet with a therapist weekly for the first year to just talk. Coda helped me recover a lot through my grieving and meeting my son's kidney recipient. I would tell my earlier self that it's okay to not be strong, and not being strong is not a reflection on the status of my faith. Have an open heart to receive the support and comfort that may come to help you along your journey. Hold your surviving loved ones even closer. I think those are all excellent tips. And of course, you all have learned so much, and I appreciated so much your responses to the survey so that we could share them with everybody. I'm going to pause to see if there are any questions or anything Stephanie wants to chime in about, and then I have a reading to close us out.
If you do have any questions, feel free to just put them in the comments box. And if we don't get to them tonight, if you're watching this after the event itself, still put them in the questions box or in the comments box, and we will be sure to answer them as soon as we can and go through them. Doesn't look like anything is coming through right away. So if you want to wrap up, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, again, you all are your best source. And CODA, of course, is a fabulous resource for you. Reach out to therapists or chaplains if you need additional support, and be honest with your friends about what you're going through. People don't know what to do, so sometimes cue them or shape their response to what you need. This is about soothing the soreness of your soul. And so I'll close with this reading. As far as I can see, grief will never truly end. It may become softer over time, more gentle, and some days will feel sharp. But grief will last as long as love does, forever. It's simply the way the absence of your loved one manifests in your heart, a deep longing accompanied by the deepest love. Some days the heavy fog may return, and the next day it may recede. Once again, it's all an ebb and flow, a constant dance of sorrow and joy, pain and sweet love. And just remember, you're not going through any of it alone. You have a community that has your back. And tell people what you need. Please know that I will hold you in my heart. I will offer prayers for you, and I'm thinking of you as you go through the grieving process. Thank you for this time, Stephanie. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been really lovely, and I hope that everybody has been who's tuned in live, has gotten something out of it. And even if you're tuning in later, that's also wonderful. We want to create some tools to help support mental health, because while physically we definitely understand the physical aspects of organ donation, but mentally is something that is often overlooked. So I'm very happy that we're able to provide this type of service. And I did see one question come through from LaQuaya. She said, can we apply these same tips if you are grieving the loss of a transplant?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sure. She said, can we apply these same tips if you are grieving the loss of a transplant?
I think my best guidance is, in my opinion, is find your unique grieving path, and you can tell what is soothing to you, and throw everything out that doesn't soothe you. This is a time, whatever your particular circumstances are, where the focus needs to be on you, and you need to tune to yourself and let others support you in whatever way is helpful to you. So I think find your grieving path, and It can be as individual as you are. If I didn't answer it, Stephanie can chime in and answer it better than I can. But
I think that that's wonderful advice. And also, I mean, absolutely. I mean, grief is grief and however it shows up, and all of these tips are applicable to that. And especially, if you are experiencing the loss of, if you are in LaQuaya's case, I know that she is a kidney recipient, but is now in need of another kidney. And absolutely, you can grieve the loss of the first kidney because you're so grateful for that gift and the family that gave it to you. So of course, grieving that is part of a healthy headspace, in my opinion. So I think absolutely a lot of these tips can be applicable to that, and set those healthy boundaries when you are having a day where you just are struggling.
and it's that your expectations are, you were expecting a particular path, and it's not turning out to be that way. That those are difficult things to manage. One of the most important human needs in life is predictability, and so you think that this is how it's going to go, and there's another chapter there that you didn't want in the book. But be honest about how you're feeling, and garner as many resources for support that you can, and utilize your community.
Great advice. Great advice. Thank you, all of those who tuned in and all of those who are watching. And Donna, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.